Alright. This is Goblin-gate and Eagle's Eyrie from Iron Crown Enterprises. I can get figured out and set up. Yes, I'm not using my normal opening credits. I'm going to try and make a better one at some point, but at the moment I just want to speed things up. So Iron Crown Enterprises. This particular installment for Middle-earth role-playing game was one of the original 5 or 6 that were set out about the same time as the core book rules and the box set, and it is a integral play module. And I've played this using Dungeon Dragon rules. I've played this using Merc rules. I played this using Rolemaster rules. And I'm telling you, it is an excellent adventure module. It has a lot of information in it and things that you would expect. Now, of course, take into account this is all pre-Lord of the Rings movie series by Peter Jackson, so that canon has changed a few things. We've got a beautiful map, which is one of the things I always like about Merc. When they were creating, it was the colorful, in-depth maps were true to Tolkien's own work as much as possible. We have all the stats and specifics we need to convert the rules from a D100 system to a D20 system to D6 system to a D12 system, and it's just real easy to modify and operate in. We have our introduction, brief history to the region, the land, and we're all familiar with the land around Bree, or the land around Goblin-gate and the Misty Mountains, and the areas on either side of what we consider the passes. But we got our detail: the climate, the roads and passes, the flora, the fauna, commerce in the region, the inhabitants, of course, the orcs. Although the argument's been made on and on and off and on, and I've always got mixed opinions on it, that goblins and orcs are the same thing. And sometimes they're portrayed differently as a different branch or breed of the orc. But if you look at Peter Jackson's take on goblins, they are distinctly different from the orc. They do not have the same stature and physique and man-like form and function that you see the orcs have. And I've always preferred that. I had no problem with the goblins being a lesser breed of orc or just being completely different from the orcs. There's room for everybody in fantasy settings. That's just, my personal preference or personal thought on that subject. We talked about the orcs. When we talk about orcs, they go into depth. The appearance, abilities of weakness, attitude and lifestyle, social structure, family patterns, settlement and housing, economy, language, right? Then we got the Northmen, and that's broken down into Bearnings and the Great Eagles, the Stone Giants. I guess the Bearnings they're Northmen, but they're not, because they're a very specialized breed of human. It's the best I can come up with. They definitely do not fit in that character. The Stone Giants, and then we got politics and power in the region. The Orcish realms, their military forces. The Northmen, of course, and their military forces. The Great Eagles. Physical overview for wilderness travel, what to expect, how to deal with things through the mountains, through the regions on either side of the mountains. Goblin-gate itself, which is the primary gist of the module, or source book. Excuse me. At the Mythelberg Market of the Upper Unadin. This is the homeland, or where the writers of Roham originated from back in the day. There's still Northmen living up there, of course, and this doesn't matter what period of time you're in, just a matter of how well they are established. Excuse me again. Selecting an adventure and selecting a time period. This has always been something that makes Merc, I don't want to say unique, but special, because you can actually roleplay this game in a wide range of timelines. The most common for the game setting itself is 1640, Third Age. You still got 1,000 odd years before the War of the Ring. So a lot of the larger political bodies like Arnor's are partially intact, and Gondor's, while it's starting its slow slide downhill, is still pretty potent. Encounters, traps, adventures of Goblin-gate. First adventure, struggle for the throne, where your characters are basically mercenaries. They're hired as outside agitators or manipulators or whatever by various plots or groups within a Goblin-gate to take over the throne. This is the plot. Prone individuals, the layout, maps, and we see a good vision of that in the TV show and in the books if you read them. So you can get a good visual, but this here just adds to it. And I kind of like some of the characteristics. The sheer size and scope of this place is not something, this is not your typical dungeon crawl. This is not going to be a hack and slash. If your character group, if the characters go into a setting like this and their intentions, this is just treat it like just another goblin den or orc hole and clean it out, unless they're marching with a very big army at their back, a very well equipped one, it's not going to happen, and it's not going to end well for the characters. But if they insist on going that route, by gosh, do it, because there's always possibilities of fun and trying to the fun of trying to escape with your skin intact. From individuals, operations overview. There's stats on. Ooh, yeah. I was fine, and then I got the yawns. Once you start yawning, you can't stop. Okay, Gollum the Bearer of the One Ring, depending on what timeline you run into him, he's either here or he's not. Here's the front porch. Goblin's Lair. Here's the next adventure right on Goblin-gate. Determine a probably greedy party, your low to moderate level, 2nd to 7th level scouts or essential dwarves and Northmen will be most eager to participate. So you want a pretty strong party if you're going to actually raid Goblin-gate. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, you got Methelberg, or however you want to pronounce it. This is the Northland. Jeez, hang on. Get old. Everything starts to open up on me. Ethberg is the key northern Northman town. You got spies from the Witch King, circa 1640. Prominent individuals, operations in the town. It's just another adventure. Nice map of the town itself. Various specific locations and things that you can find at different times of the history. This is either an abandoned ruin or a grassy hill or a very thriving, large, modest-sized city, and so on and so forth. In other adventure settings, giant isle, eagles, Eyrie. I wouldn't advise going up and messing with the eagles unless you really want to get hurt on you. So we got our master beast table, military tables, master NPC carts, counters, another map of the general. Here's the high pass and the two main routes across, and Eagles Eyrie over here. Like I said, this is an excellent module, and it's a grand example of an early adventure module put together with a lot of thought and effort, with the fact that it had already some pretty heavy backstory established by Mr. Tolkien himself, or Professor Tolkien, however you want to put it, as an opening module for new players. Is excellent because most people who are familiar with the fantasy setting are familiar with Lord of the Rings, especially now with the advent of the TV, the movies, the 6 different movies, and we can just build upon that. You could even show cutscenes right before they go into the Goblin Town from Peter Jackson's The Hobbit. Just the opportunities are there. Loads of stuff. I can remember at least 2 different campaigns where friends and I played just this module for probably 6-8 months, because there was just so much stuff that could be done and interlinked and put together. So, till next time.